Hi everyone, it's Roger here from What's on disneyplus.com. In this video, I'm going to be speaking with the editor of Fire Island, which is available now on Hulu in the United States, on Star Plus in Latin America, and on Disney Plus around the world. First off, just again, thank you so much for taking your time out to speak to me today. So could you introduce yourself and give us some idea of some of the shows that you've worked on?
Sure. I'm Brian Cates. I'm based in New York, although I move around a lot. I have edited. I'm here to talk about Fire Island, which I just edited for Disney Plus, Hulu, and some of my previous films are The Savages, Private Life, Short Bus. In TV, The Laramie Project. I did the pilot for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I was one of two editors on The Plot Against America, one of several editors on Treme. Um, I was co-editor on a documentary called Tarnation, and several other things.
That's cool. So I'm going to ask first off, just kind of if you could give like an explanation to sort of, if you explain it to anyone, what does editing actually involve?
Well, it's really building the show or the movie. I mean, like if a director is or a screenwriter has a blueprint and a director has the job of managing the building of the building, we are construction. Although, I mean, truthfully, we also deal with structure and writing to some extent as well, depending on the project. So I wouldn't say it's only the labor of construction. It's also the labor of really thinking through the conception of the project and how does each character work? Does the acting work? Do the beats make sense? Does the story track? Is it tonally consistent? Does the style make sense? Is it internally coherent? I mean, we have to deal with all of these questions, and also we have to see it within the frame of what is it doing in culture, and as small. I think this is a Walter Murch, famous editor's quote, although I could be misquoting him. The smallest unit we deal with is the frame, which is 24 frames a second, and the biggest is like how does the movie function within the culture that it lands in. And we should think about all those things, the very micro and the very macro, and we build the project to adjust to however we perceive that.
I was going to say, how long did it kind of take you to kind of put together Fire Island, as obviously with the idea of a movie?
Let's see. Well, we shot from August 9th to September 16th. I finished my first cut a week later. And then Andrew, the director, and I worked together until about March. I think we mixed the film in March, and it was released in June. So a bunch of months, pretty quickly, actually, I would say, compared to other shows. We wanted to get it done for Pride in June, at least for American or New York Pride. And I'm very glad that we did because there's a lot of queer people who wanted smart, interesting, sexy, queer content in June. But really, it should be any year, any time of year.
I mean, as well. I mean, obviously, like Disney Plus and Hulu, they've all been putting on the Pride collections. Obviously, things like Love Victor being put on.
Yeah.
But it was really nice. I like watching Fire Island, and just tonally that the difference of having fun, and I really enjoyed the film. And and it's kind of funny because I didn't really even realize till after I'd seen it that it was actually even based on like Pride and Prejudice. Didn't even really. And so
oh my god! And you're British.
Yeah. Didn't even click. And it wasn't until afterwards as well. I was like right at the view. I was like, oh. Didn't like, and it was just, I think because I was so engrossed in it and really enjoying the characters, it just didn't cross my mind. And it was I thoroughly
that's a
enjoyed
compliment. Yeah, no, I'm glad it works on both levels. You shouldn't have to know, but it should be very gratifying if you're tracking the ways that they are matched.
Yeah,
so that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, no, it was a really good film. So what was the biggest challenge for you editing this one?
Probably that the actors are really talented and they were constantly doing things, little detailed things that were so small or different in every take. And I wanted to use every single little bit of actor character detail that they did. Like there were little lines thrown here and there, like Max says, "Keegan, did you paint on abs?" And he says, "Yeah, just little highlights." And um, Matt Rogers, Luke's character says, "Can does anyone have a Crest white strip for a prep pill?" I mean, all of these little asides are ad libs, and these are very seasoned actors who really were friends. And some of the stuff that they said was not even audible. It was on their lavalier mic, their ISO track, and we had to dig it out because they were saying it once, once they were off screen. So gathering all of that stuff with the help of my very, very good assistant editor, Matthew Buckley, and my apprentice editor, Blake Pruitt, was really the job, is like mining the footage for all of these funny little things and trying to figure out how to pack as many in as possible and be coherent, because sometimes too many jokes at once can be chaos. In our case, I think it often was good to have as many jokes as possible and create a little bit of chaos,
Yeah,
which is
it
what
was.
it's like
It's
on this island.
and I was going to say as well, like sort of in terms of making a film, is it different like making a film so than just a TV, or is it just how long you spend on it?
You can really spend more time digging in on a film. You do have more time. The other thing is, because as an editor, I'm there from, a day before they start shooting until the mix is finished, which is like the entire thing. Only the assistant editor, the director, and the producer are involved for that amount of time. Um, so it's you're really shepherding this thing from birth to, or sorry, I can't think of a metaphor, from conception to birth might be the metaphor,
Yeah.
um, not to death. Um, so it's very important that that you set an expectation and you fulfill it. You plant seeds at the beginning with your work, and they sometimes things don't get completely finished till the very end of the process, 7 months later, 8 months later. And on TV, it's faster, and you're not involved in every bit of the process. It's much more siloed to different crew members. But with this, it really has to be my baby with the director. And so like if I have to reduce a scene, I'm going to want it to still stay cinematic. I don't want to put in extra cuts that I don't need, that are just simply to cut out time. I want to make everything feel really like it has a visual vocabulary that isn't compromised by too much cutting, which in TV is hard to maintain because you're constantly compressing for time, and in film you have a little bit more leeway to be an artist about it. Ideally, in
Yeah,
great TV you do too, but that's
yeah,
not a.
and also as well, like with obviously doing TV and stuff, incorporating like ads. I imagine that you have to take that into consideration a bit as well. Is that right?
In network TV, yeah. If there are
Yeah,
ads, sure, you have act breaks, and you need to crescendo into a good reason to break. I mean, they're written with with those ad breaks built in, but sometimes they change,
yeah.
for sure.
Uh,
Yeah.
and sort of in terms of obviously in editing, how does it change depending on like the genre that you're doing?
Well, if it's a comedy, it has to be funny, and you can tell if it isn't because you test it, and if people don't laugh, it's usually not funny. Sometimes people have a little chuckle, and you don't want to steamroll, or you don't want to remove subtle jokes that wouldn't necessarily garner an audible laugh. But you also, if you feel like it's a very funny joke and you laugh, then the audience should be laughing as well. So you really have to adjust to make sure that it's funny. And often sometimes it's delivery, sometimes it's pace, sometimes it's what shot you're on, or who's reacting, or if there's too much information at the same time and you can't follow the joke. I mean, there are a million reasons why things don't quite work, and you really have to try hard to get them to work. It's
Obviously, as
fun.
well, I would imagine in some ways you kind of, if you're watching that clip and editing it in so many times, you can kind of lose what's funny and not. So you need other people's
Hmm.
input to kind of because you maybe lost that in terms of editing it
Hmm.
a lot.
You do, yeah. And people you trust. I mean, as a mass, as an audience, you really want as many people as possible, and it doesn't really matter who, because you have big global reactions. But when you have small screenings, you want people whose taste you trust, because you talk to them afterwards and you analyze the movie, and you don't want to be getting information from people who don't understand it or wouldn't watch it. Luckily, this movie is a kind of a crowd pleaser, so we didn't really have an issue of who this movie is for. We think it's for everybody.
Yeah. So in terms of like with your editing, how much involvement do you have with the director with the editing?
Tons. I mean, he's my boss. He, they, he, she, or they are the boss, the manager. They are the filter that make you understand what universe you're working in, and they're also your companion and your colleague, and you want to please them, and you also want to test things against their sensibility and see if it sticks. But great directors let you, I think, let you work enough on your own as an editor so that you can still maintain a sort of an intimacy with the material, so that when they walk back in the room, you feel like you've. Sometimes it's hard to feel deeply when you're being watched by another person, and often, at least for me, when I'm alone, I can get a sense of intimacy with the characters that I can't always get with a director in the room. So sometimes great director-editor relationships involve going back and forth, inside outside, and that was very much how Andrew and I worked, and it kept us fresh and it kept us excited by what we were seeing and surprised, and it was really fantastic.
And sort of, have you got any tips for any editors or future editors out there?
That's a really good question. Um, well, it's very hard work, and it's a lot of hours during the day. So it's important that you organize your day around where your energy is going to be the highest. Um, and sometimes people are morning people, sometimes people are not morning people. So like it for me, it's important to like I am a morning person, so I like to get a lot of big lifts done in the morning with the edit. There's always stuff to do later that's more sort of task oriented, that has less emotional investment, like organizing shots or listening to music and pulling selects. And you know, that work takes a different part of the brain that's more logical and less about, really investing. Like you can get very involved in the characters and it could take a lot out of you, especially in a drama. So you want to save your emotions for when you have gas in the tank, to use a metaphor. You don't want to run out of gas when you need it the most.
Yeah, and also, what would be your dream project that you'd like to work on now?
Well, I've edited a bunch of films that are not, strictly speaking, musicals, but have a lot of music, but almost function as musicals. Short Bus is one. Lackawanna Blues is another. Um, How to Talk to Girls at Parties is another. They have a very strong musical sensibility and they have musical numbers, but because people don't sing, people always sing when they're performing in those films, but not sing because it's part of the language of the film, as it would be in a traditional musical. So I want to do a real musical someday.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
and especially, I mean, I don't feel like obviously we've had some like big hits like with The Greatest Showman, West Side Story, and stuff. But it would be nice to. I feel like
exactly.
we need more than just one every other year. So, um, so
Yeah.
I've got to ask, what has been your favorite project to edit?
Um, well, Fire Island really was one of them for sure. Another was Short Bus from 2006. And they're similar because I made them with friends. They very much were part of my own queer community and chosen family, and they came out of those worlds without watering them down or compromising them or trying to play to a different audience. And I feel like they had a sincerity and an authenticity that really made it feel joyful to work on them. So both of them very much. I also felt the same way about The Plot Against America, but in a very different way because it was a very Jewish film, and I related to that, and I felt like that culture was very much, it was my culture, so it was
Yeah.
very easy to attach to it and feel strong feelings about what I was watching on screen without any mediation. It was like very immediate for me.
And also, I mean, one of the things I really enjoyed about Fire Island as well was, it's kind of that idea that it moved beyond just like the story of coming out, because we get that like with like Love Victor and like
Mm-hmm.
Trevor and things like that recently. So it was really nice, just kind of for me, of like watching just a story of just guys going away, and it wasn't about them, like coming out. That whole story kind of, in some ways, it's been done so much. It was nice just
So
having,
much.
yeah, and that's what I really enjoyed about that film. And got to ask, sort of finally, and I asked this to everyone, is what has been your favorite Disney Plus original so far?
um, that would include WandaVision, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah.
WandaVision.
Well, WandaVision, I cut Elizabeth Olsen in Kill Your Darlings, and I cut Catherine Hahn in Private Life. So, WandaVision for me was like very like it was like candy because I was getting to see two actors who are at the top of their game do crazy shit I never saw them do before, and that was really pleasurable. Um, and I have to say, I'm a Star Wars fan, so Obi-Wan Kenobi, like the finale, kind of devastated me. It was awesome.
Yeah,
It
it was
really like filled in some blanks that I wanted to fill in. I
yeah,
wanted that information.
it is. It's funny how, like, like they say, with all these different shows and stuff now, there's so much different opportunities and stuff
Mm.
in the future. Would you ever like to work on like a Marvel or a Star Wars project?
A Star Wars for sure. Oh my god. I
Yeah,
mean, I watched A New Hope as it was not called then in
yeah,
'77 at a drive-in that my parents took me to. So I am very primed to have that encoded inside me from a very young age. So no, it means a ton to me. I mean, the very idea that Vader's fatal flaw is that he is too attached to other people, both as Anakin and Vader, which this show finally squared that and made that a consistent character, both really a flaw for him, but really a human being in the scope of the whole show. That's incredible work, and I
yeah.
really praise the director and the editors for making a beautiful show. So yeah, I'm a fan. I'm a
Yeah,
fan.
no,
Yeah,
it's definitely great to see. Just like, again, just sort of more Star Wars is always great. Again, thank you so much, and obviously, everyone
totally
can check out Fire Island right now on Hulu in the United States. It's on Star Plus in Latin America, and it's on Disney Plus around the world. Definitely recommend
amazing.
checking that one out. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Make sure you go check us out over at whatsondisneyplus.com. Like, follow, and subscribe. Also, a huge thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and also on our YouTube channel memberships. And I shall see you guys in another video. Laters.